Dalit, the second paragraph on the page. We were explaining about what we learned yesterday's Chumash, that it says, בחודש הזה בו מדבר סיני, and I'm sorry, not בחודש הזה, ביום הזה בו מדבר סיני, and it doesn't say explicitly what day it is. We learn it out from Gzeira Shava, from what it says by Rosh Chodesh Nisan, Chodesh Hazeh. We say, just like a Chodesh Hazeh is Rosh Chodesh, so too by Yom Hazeh in Chodesh Ashlishi is talking about Rosh Chodesh. And Rashi also learns out from it that B'chol Yom Yu B'nech Chadoshim, that every single day should be as new to you. We wanted to understand what's the connection between the idea that every day it's new and the idea of talking about B'chodesh Hazeh is talking about specifically Rosh Chodesh Sivan. If it's specifically Rosh Chodesh Sivan, so then that's not every single day. How do we fit those two together? We also wanted to understand how is the idea of Yechol Yom Yu B'nech Chadoshim that we learn out from Yom Hazeh, that every single day it has to be as if the Torah was given to you, with the idea that anyway the Torah is nitzchi and the words of Hashem are everlasting. And to explain that, we started explaining about the chibur of al yonim and tachtoinim that took place by Matan Torah, that primarily the Yeridus el yonim l'tachtoinim, the descent of those above to below, is talking about the Yerida b'shas Matan Torah. And that was an esinas koyach, that was an empowerment for the aliyah of tachtoinim that takes place after Matan Torah, which is through the mitzvahs that we do. That when we do mitzvahs, so then we have the aliyah of tachtoinim to the elyonim. So now we're going to continue from that topic. Ois Hey, third paragraph on the third page, page Tavchof Aleph. V'hinei af shirid elyonim lamata, v'aliyas tachtoinim lamaylim shnei yonim. Though, as we mentioned just before, the descent of the above to below and the ascent of the below to above are two distinct things. And va'ad shoy b'shnei zman, to such degree that it took place at two distinct times. One took place at Matan Torah, one takes place in our observance of mitzvahs and even our learning Torah that follows after Matan Torah, that we become elevated. The descent of those above down here below was during Matan Torah. And the ascent of those below to above is following Matan Torah. Mikol Motim still in all. Since the descent of the ones above down here below was also the beginning and the empowerment for those down below to come up above. Chazal say that when the king said that Rome should not go down to Syria, Syria should not come down to Rome, and then he said, I'm nullifying the decree. So then, Vani Amaschil, first, I am the one that's doing it. That Hashem said, I'm going to do this first, I'm going to be demonstrating the annulment of the decree first by Vayered Hashem al Har Sinai. V'lachein, therefore, the descent was in such a manner that at the time it influenced and affected down below, the ones below, that they should be able to arise. So therefore, it already contained in it, it already had the potential of the aliyah of Tachtoinim, even though the actual aliyah of the Tachtoinim takes place after Matan Torah, when we do the mitzvahs, when we learn Torah, etc. So the Rebbe continues, according to this, we can explain what is brought down, that the voice, the sound of Hashem saying the Aseres HaDibros was heard from all four directions of the world, and from above and from below. In other words, we were completely surrounded by the sound of the Aseres HaDibros. What was the reason for it? what is the connection between it and the Nes, or the whole event of Matan Torah. Hashem wasn't just trying to impress us. It was part and parcel, the Rebbe is going to explain, of the very experience of what Matan Torah was accomplishing. Part of that very experience involved that the voice came from every place in the world. Because the revelation of the infinite light of Hashem, that's beyond the entire category of place. Even higher than the category of place, the way it's in the Kav. We spoke about before that there is the idea of Maila and Mata that is created by the Kav. Kav is the first level, the thin line that came after the Tzimtzum Rishon is the first level that created a hierarchy, a higher and lower. And when we say that there's a revelation from Elyonim came down to Tachtoinim, a revelation from above to below, it doesn't just mean from above to below within the category of even spiritual space, but we explained also it's from the level of above any type of category of space. It's above the concept of above and below. So that's the Od Ein Sof that became revealed. Sheba koil da aseres hadibros Paul behamokim shebay nishma kol sheyeh l'mayla hamokim. Since the revelation of the Aseres Hadibros was from a place beyond the entire category of place, beyond Maila Mata, the way Kav created that distinction. So therefore, when that voice and that revelation of Aseres Hadibros came into place, which was where the voice was heard, it affected the place that was beyond place. The Rebbe says in the footnote, this is similar to the idea of Mokim Aron Einem in Amida, that the place of the Aron did not occupy any space. So while being in physical place, and the Aron had physical measurements, and the Mishkan and the Beis HaMikdash had physical measurements, and still didn't occupy any space, because it affected in the place that was beyond place. So he goes on to the next page. V'lechein af sha'mokim sheboy hoya koil hoya mokim mesuyim, top of page Tavchav Beis, though the actual place where the voice was in it was a specific place, it wasn't that all of a sudden place stopped existing. It doesn't say that all of a sudden there was no top and bottom in this world, all of a sudden there was no more four directions. No. There was still four directions, and there was still above and below. And in that four directions, and in the above and below, the voice was heard, but it was such that it surpassed the limitations of space. Nichlu by Kol HaShisha Ktsavis was included in that place where the voice was heard of Hashem in all the six sides of above and below in the four directions. And here the Rebbe brings an inyan, which seems to be a chiddush of the Rebbe, because he prefaces with the words V'yesh Loimar, that just like it took place, this idea that beyond place revealed itself in place, and therefore caused that place would have this beyond place characteristic, the same thing happened with time. The Rebbe very often relates and says that Mokim and Zman are connected and run parallel with each other, and what happens in Mokim, in place, happens in time. So this beyond place, causing that the place should take on the characteristics of without the limitations of place, the Rebbe is about to say that same thing happened with time. Yesh Loimar, we could say, Shal Derech Zo B'Negiel Zman, in a similar veins concerning time. Shazman Sheboy Nitna Torah Hoyla Maila Mazman. The time in which the Torah was given was beyond time, just like the place in which the Torah was given became, the sound caused it to be in a way of beyond place. V'nichlal boy kol hemshech hazman, and was included in the time of Matan Torah, the entire duration of time, just like in the place of Matan Torah was all place included in it. So the Rebbe says, based on this, we could perhaps explain the why is it so that Alter Rebbe says in Tanya that Matan Torah is a one-time event? It's never going to be again. What's the idea behind it? I'm sorry, it's a Mamarim from the Rebbe Rashab. It begins. Will never happen Matan Torah again. With all the great revelations, let's say of Mashiach's times and Torah Chadash and Me'iti Teitzei, but it's all included in Matan Torah. Matan Torah is the only time that it happened. So it's not. Usually you think, if that's the only time it happens, that means it's like, that's it. The rest of time missed out on it. Of course, a Yid never missed out on it because we were all there. All our neshamas were there. But conceptually, it's a one-time event. Now it's past. No, it's not that it's a one-time event that passed. The reason why Matan Torah won't be, and again, is because it's an all-time event. Ki bazman the Matan Torah nichlol kol hemshech hazman kuloi, because in the very time of Matan Torah, when it took place, the 6th of Sivan 2448, it included in it all time throughout time, just like it included all place, and the voice and the sound came from every side. So therefore, it's more than just Matan Torah is not going to repeat itself. Matan Torah is always. There is no time that Matan Torah did not take place in, so there's no, like, if you will, need to repeat it, because it's actually happening in that particular time again. So the Rebbe says this is not just on the 6th of Sivan. The Rebbe brings it back to the date of this pasuk. Baxhodsh השלישי ביום הזה בו מדבר סיני ועל דרך זה ובנגיע לראש חודש סיvan, a similar vein is concerning Rosh Chodesh Sivan. Sha'az nishlama achana l'matan Torah. The Alter Rebbe in Torah explains that Rosh Chodesh Sivan, we concluded the preparations for Matan Torah. Obviously, there was some other preparations, but there was a certain general preparation for Matan Torah that was concluded on Rosh Chodesh Sivan. So therefore, it's not just on the 6th of Sivan when the actual Matan Torah took place, that it included all time, but also already on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, it was Shebi Yom Zeh Nichlal Kol Meshech Hazman Shalach. And the day of Rosh Chodesh Sivan was included the entire duration of time that followed it. This is now the connection that we wanted to understand at the beginning of the Maimer. One of the questions was, either Yom Hazeh is referring to Rosh Chodesh Sivan, like the Gemara that brings the Gzeira Shava, or like Rashi, it means every single day. So it's actually the same. The Shekoyal Rosh Chodesh Sivan, it is going on Rosh Chodesh Sivan because we have the Gzeira Shava Hazeh. V'shekoyal kol yom, it's also going on every single day. Ki b'Rosh Chodesh Sivan the Shnas Matan Torah nichul kol hayomim shel achar, because Rosh Chodesh Sivan of the year 2448 was included all the days following Rosh Chodesh Sivan, going till throughout all time. Oizvav v'alpiz yesh levayer ha'isaf v'achidush al dibur HaKadosh Baruch Hu im rasecha beis limud ha'adam. Based on the above, we could explain what is the uniqueness that we say that when a person learns the words of Torah, he is learning imrasecha, tan leshoini imrasecha, that my tongue is just responding and repeating like a responsive repetition of your words. That happens by a person learning Torah. He is uttering the words of Hashem, versus the speech of the Matan Torah, that we said was for all time as well. So what's the difference? The fact that the speech of Matan Torah is to be found in all time, that's because of the study of a person, like we said, Vaydaber Hashem, Vaydaber as kol hadvarim ha'ela leimer, Lamer means that we are saying it, that every single time we are learning Torah, it is the speech of Hashem. Like we said, nice hey. This is Shagilu the Matan Torah. Paul Bazman Shaboy Nitna Torah, the fact of the revelation of Matan Torah, it affected the time that Torah was given, Sheyekol Boy Kol Hemshchazman, that it should be included in it all continuation of time, because it was from a level that's beyond time. So when it came down in time, it caused the time to be beyond time, meaning to include in it all time, just like when it came the level of Matan Torah was beyond place, came into place and caused the coalescing of all place. How come? What was the whole idea of the revelation by Matan Torah? It's so that the revelation of Matan Torah should be the beginning and the empowerment for the ascent of those below, the service of man. In other words, the fact that Matan Torah affected and enabled and began the process of which would conclude with Aliyas Tachtoinim is also concerning this idea that it impacted time, that it included all time. Because that the time of Matan Torah caused that this should also influence the avoid of the Adam throughout time, to have this coalescing of time. Therefore, the speech of Hashem that comes through the study of a person is higher. Because we asked, what's the difference between the fact that Hashem's words are everlasting for all time versus the idea that B'chol Yom Yovanech Chadoshim, that in our learning Torah we are renewing and seeing the Torah anew and receiving the Torah as new? Because the first level of encompassing all time, that's the Yerida of Elyonim L'Tachtoinim. That's Hashem's descent down here. But that's only an empowerment for a higher level, what's going to be afterwards, the ascent of Tachtoinim to the Elyonim, that we should cause that everlasting nature of the speech of Hashem. So the Rebbe continues, V'yesh Lahoitz, of second paragraph on in Vav, we can add the K'moisha b'Yom Hazeh K'pshutai Shekoyal Rosh Chodesh, just like in the simple meaning of Yom Hazeh. It's not referring, like Rashi says, every day of the world. It's referring to the day of Rosh Chodesh. Rak Moilad Alavana, what takes place on Rosh Chodesh? It's the birth of the moon, and at the birth of the moon, the Kudah B'Vad, it's only one point of light. It's not the full revelation of the moon. And following Rosh Chodesh, it increases until we come to the 15th of the month of every month. That then the moon is full. So just like it's in the date, just like it's in the months in time, al derech over Yisrael, in a similar vein, it's concerning the Yid. Shebe'ez matan Torah shoybe midbar Sinai, during the giving of the Torah that was in the wilderness of Sinai. Hoya haschala was the beginning, just like Rosh Chodesh is the beginning of the month. It's only a point. By day havoided the Yisrael la'achrize, or la'achri matan Torah holchum misgadlim, through the avoid of the Yidden following matan Torah. And after matan Torah they are increasing. Until the days of David HaMelech and the times of Shlomo HaMelech, the moon was considered fullest, because Shlomo HaMelech, and he's including also David HaMelech, was 15 generations from Avraham Avinu. So the Chazal liken it to the idea of the 15th day of the month. When the 15th day of the month, the moon is full. The same thing Shlomo HaMelech was like the fullest development, starting from Avraham Avinu, like Avram Hischilahei Allahayr, it says Avram began to illuminate, just like the beginning of the month begins the revelation. And even though to a certain degree that's called the fullness of the moon, but the true fullness of Klal Yisrael and the whole event of Matan Torah will take place. The primary fullness and perfection and completion, the Malchut Mashiach, will be in the generation of King Mashiach. That then he will rule from sea to sea and from the river until the ends of the earth. He will rule all over equally. I guess similar to the idea of makim that he spoke about, that it was all place. It permeated. Until his glory, the glory of Hashem, will fill the entire earth. The filling in a perfect way in the entire world equally. The idea of Vayimole, I guess he's also playing off the fullness of the moon. Oizayin, 2 lines to the bottom. It's explained the Amorim. The Torah is called both strength and tushia. Tushia has many different connotations, but the Chazal attribute to tushia the word of teshim, which means weakness. It gives strength to the nefesh elokis and gives weakness to the nefesh bahamis. The fact that Torah has in it these two characteristics, that even though it was enclosed in physical matters, how could it be that something that's enclosed in physical matters should have these two disparate and opposite characteristics that seem to show on breaking out of boundaries, whereas being enclosed in the physical shows that it's bounded and limited. The source of the Torah, its foundation, it's in the infinite light of Hashem, is very, very self, is very glory. The revelation of this level of Torah, the level of the Ein Sof that enables the two opposites to be together, and when the Torah study of a person is in a state of bittul, that he feels that it's not him studying the Torah, but he is just responding, like someone responding after the reader, like we were speaking about before. The Rebbe now connects this idea of the ois to the nefesh elokis and the shir nefesh bahamis. We could say the shnei inyanim, the ois to shir, these two matters. They're also similar to the two matters of above, in the joining of above and below. The fact that the Torah gives power and strength to the godly soul, while it's similar to the descent and the drawing down of the Torah down here below. Is the fact that Torah weakens the nefesh habahamis, while it's similar to what the Torah, giving of the Torah accomplished, that later, after Matan Torah, there should be the ascent of those below. The same thing. It's making the nefesh habahamis susceptible and available to Kedusha. The fact that the source of the Torah is for the infinite light of Hashem. Therefore, the Torah has in it both matters of the strength and the weakness of nefesh habahamis. While derech hamavur macher is similar to what's explained in a different place. The fact that the Torah, which is beyond the world, descended below and influenced below, why it's through that it came down into it from Hashem's essence, that it is able to deal with opposites. So because it's able to deal with opposites, so Torah, which is by its very nature beyond the world, is coming into the world. How could something beyond the world come into the world? It's because it comes from Hashem's essence that tolerates opposites. Therefore, the same thing, it can have the ois to the nefesh elokis and a tushia to the nefesh bahamis. We'll stop over here.